QUIC.cloud offers 4 page optimization services, each of which improves your page performance in its own way. Today, we are going to talk about the Critical CSS service, also called CCSS for short. If you would like to follow along and get CCSS working on your own site, you will need to have the following: a WordPress site set up and in working order, a copy of the LiteSpeed cache for WordPress plugin v3.0 or later installed and activated, your WordPress site paired with QUIC.cloud, and a QUIC.cloud account. If you don't have this set up yet, see the video description for instructions. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. While HTML determines the structure of your web pages, CSS determines what they look like. Nearly every web page owes its aesthetics to a series of CSS files that are loaded with each page request. These CSS files define every possible style all of the pages on your site may need. As a result, they may be large and complex. A common website optimization practice is to load CSS and HTML together asynchronously. However, when you load CSS and HTML together, you may have to wait a few seconds for the CSS styles to load. This leads to the dreaded flash of unstyled content. We can solve this problem with Critical CSS. Only a fraction of the styles defined in your site's CSS files is necessary for displaying above-the-fold content. That fraction is called Critical CSS. We can quickly load the Critical CSS first, and then, when the rest of the CSS and HTML are loaded together asynchronously, the browser already knows how to display that first screenful of visible content. By default, QUIC.cloud generates CCSS by post type, so essentially, all posts share the same CCSS file, all pages share a CCSS file, all products share a CCSS file, and so on. This is nice because it takes up so little space. You could have a site with 1,000 pages that are all served by 3 or 4 CCSS files. This behavior is configurable though, so if your site is designed so that each page has unique styles, you can enable CCSS per URL. With this setting enabled, an individual CCSS file will be generated for each and every page. This option generates many files. Got 1,000 posts? Say hello to 1,000 new CCSS files. If your hosting plan limits the number of files you can have, this may pose a problem. All QUIC.cloud optimization services are configured and initiated from the LiteSpeed cache plugin for WordPress. To enable Critical CSS from your WordPress dashboard, navigate to LiteSpeed cache, then Page Optimization, then CSS Settings. Set Load CSS Asynchronously to On. Enable CCSS per URL if you want to, and press the Save Changes button. And with that, you have enabled CCSS. The LiteSpeed cache plugin and QUIC.cloud will begin processing CCSS with your site's next visitor. Let's assume you have CCSS per URL set to Off, which is the default. Here's how CCSS generation would work. When a user visits a page on your site, if that page's post type does not yet have CCSS calculated, the page is added to a queue. Periodically, the WordPress cron sends the queue to QUIC.cloud. QUIC.cloud processes each of the pages in the queue and generates CCSS for them. QUIC.cloud notifies WordPress that there is new CCSS ready. The cron picks up the CCSS and saves it. Finally, the next time pages with those post types are cached, LiteSpeed will insert the Critical CSS directly into the page's HTML. The next time a visitor requests one of those pages, it will load the Critical CSS first, and the first screenful of content will display quickly and properly styled. When you enable CCSS per URL, the Critical CSS service works the same way, except that QUIC.cloud generates new CCSS for every single page. We mentioned previously that the LiteSpeed plugin is the place to enable and configure your Critical CSS service. If you want to monitor the service or pay for additional quota, that is done on the QUIC.cloud dashboard. To monitor CCSS usage for your example.com site, navigate to QUIC.cloud dashboard, then example.com, then Page Optimization. At the top of the page, you will see a list of your most recent page optimization requests received by QUIC.cloud. There are multiple page optimization services sharing a pool of quota, but each service is in its own tab. Select the CCSS tab. Scroll down to see your usage for the month, your free quota for the month, the tier your domain belongs to, and the monthly subscriptions available to you. At the bottom of the page is the pay-as-you-go option, which allows you to purchase additional quota for page optimization services on an ad hoc basis. Like all QUIC.cloud services, you will get a certain amount of free quota to use every month. Once this quota runs out, you can purchase more, or you can wait until the following month when QUIC.cloud replenishes your freebies automatically. Critical CSS is part of a pool that also includes unique CSS and viewport images. This means QUIC.cloud charges requests from all of these three services together. If you regularly exceed your free allotment, you can choose a monthly subscription that adds 10, 20, or 30,000 requests to your quota. Quota purchased through subscriptions resets at the beginning of each month. Another option is pay-as-you-go, which allows you to refill your quota 5,000 requests at a time whenever you need it. Quota purchased in this manner carries over from month to month and does not reset. You can manage pay-as-you-go manually or enable auto-refill to top up your quota whenever you're running low. See the description below for more details about pricing. QUIC.cloud's Critical CSS service can take unwieldy style data and boil it down to the bare necessities. CCSS provides the absolute minimum style data needed to render the first screenful of correctly styled content, and this facilitates faster load times and improved customer experience. Simple sites are not likely to encounter any problems with Critical CSS. But if you find that CCSS makes your site look wrong, our CSS Troubleshooting documentation can help. If you're still having trouble after that, open a ticket and our support team can give you a hand. We hope you will give this service a try. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. We'll see you next time when we talk about one of our other QUIC.cloud optimization services.